It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Cordelia. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about achieving joy drive. Interesting topic. We'll find out. What's going on, Cordelia? How you doing?
Amazing and excellent. How are you, Che?
Amazing and excellent. I like that. Like the two go together and be different levels. I'm doing fine. Thank you to viewers, by the way. Thank you for tuning in. You have choices and you decide to spend this time with us. So thank you so much. We appreciate it, especially during these challenging times that we're living in the world. So thanks for being here. Before we get started, we'll get to your backstory. We'll get to how famous you are. We're going to figure out what's that thing on your head and all that cool stuff. But first, achieving joy drive. There's some folks, I'm sitting in the front row, are wondering what in the LL Cool J does achieving joy drive mean? Please share why that topic, why is it relevant now more than ever?
Yeah, well, as you said, Che, there is so much going on in the world, and there's so many opportunities that many of us indulge in for trauma drive, right? And we just pick up the latest worst news, and this is how it's affected my life, and then spitting it out to the next person, and that person's receiving it. Oh, but girl, did you know, right? And that is what is driving us into the ground and literally killing us when we have another choice, which is joy drive. Like, what if, right? Your friend came to you and they're lamenting their, life, woe is me. And you said, and we are having this conversation right now. Isn't it amazing that we get to have this beautiful moment while everybody else is miserable? What a joy.
Now, let me ask a question. Why, loaded question, but why do people struggle so much these days with achieving a joy drive? It seems like they have TikTok, so they can get there immediately. Got Instagram on any given day, by the way. They should feel excited and motivated. They got AI. They can go to AI today and say, what should I do to be joyful? And they'll tell them exactly what to do, yet they're struggling. I know it's a serious question. I'm laughing, I'm joking, but why are people struggling these days to achieve joy drive?
Yeah, because we've also been programmed that misery is is the way life is, and we only get moments of happiness here and there. Notice I didn't say joy, right? We are allotted some decades on this planet in this body, and we have to work, toil, and live in chaos, and that's all we get to do, except for sometimes we can have great moments, but the biggest moment's going to come when you die, right? That's when everything's going to be great and perfect. So um, we don't expect anything better for ourselves now, right? We actively work towards struggle, and we sometimes even create it, right? Like a real blessing can be happening, and it's like, well, it's a boat, but it's not a yacht, you know? Now I got all these taxes to pay, right? And and having breath in your body is such a joy. Knowing how to breathe and use your breath to replenish yourself and change the way you think and just give your body some nutrition, that's a blessing. That's a gift, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into the five practices of joy. We'll get into that in just a second. I had a chance to see you in person, by the way. Sometimes I never get a chance to meet some folks, and only through the power of these fiber optic lines. But you and I have had a chance to have eye to eye contact, which is so freaking amazing, by the way. And folks, no matter how famous you are, they don't know you. Some folks don't know you. I know most of the world probably knows you. So you mind taking a moment? I'll slow down for a second so you can take some time to tell folks the backstory. You know, the question like, who are you? And what's that backstory that led you to being so passionate about making sure folks not only have joy, drive after emotional trauma, but also practice doing what they have to do to have joy? What's your backstory? Who are you?
So once upon a time, I was married, and I was married to someone who wasn't very nice. And he often said very unkind things to me, but mostly when I was pregnant with my fifth child, in my fifth month, he asked me for divorce and asked me to leave the house with my children. Obviously, since we had been married for 10 years at that point, they were our children, but that was the most humiliating moment of my life. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to learn how to love me the way not only I would want him to love me, but the way that I should be probably loving myself anyway. And I'm going to learn how to nurture me. And so I got on this quest, you know. But as you know, when you're pregnant, you have a lot of hip pain. And imagine this was my fifth child. So I always had a workout routine. And none of those things, you know, the prenatal yoga, the prenatal Pilates, none of it was working this time. And you know, I would go on to find out later that that particular type of back pain is also related to feeling unsupported emotionally and financially, which, you know, was mostly the case in my marriage. And so I started doing something new. I found belly dancing. And I had stopped dancing during our marriage, and I hadn't even realized it until I started moving my hips, and I felt joy in my soul again. And I was like, this is how I will nurture me. I will spend little moments of joy just belly dancing with myself, you know? And so, yeah, I released my marriage 4 years ago and started studying somatic healing. And so now I'm a somatic movement facilitator, and that's part of why joy is so important to me. Because now, just imagine somatic movement kind of mimics belly dancing, but it's for the purpose of highlighting different energy centers in the body. And so, as you're moving your body, you're intentionally eliciting wholeness for each chakra or energy center. And when I talk about the five practices, I'll give you more information on that. But so that's my backstory. And so I was able to not only release my marriage, but release the trauma drive that I was in during that marriage, right? Um, and inculcate a practice of self nurturing that's so deep that I even continue to go down the lover's hole within, you know? And so I bring all different modalities in that have healed me, like Tantra and Taoism and things like that.
Thanks for being so open and so honest and so transparent. We certainly appreciate that. And as you were speaking, it led me immediately to think, well, what are the five practices? I mean, you know, you've been through a lot. You shared that with us. But if you had to say, you know, for someone watching now and listening, whether they've lost a job, again, I think these are very challenging times we live in these days, whether they're going through a divorce or a separation or a breakup, or maybe anything in your life right now, or you just want more peace and harmony. I believe these five practices of joy can help you. Take a moment, if you would, share the five practices of joy. What I enjoy most about you when you're on stage is bringing that to a stage with a group of folks, and I know that's one of the things you do, and we'll get to that towards the end as well.
Yeah, like I said, there are different energy centers in the body. So I have to adjust myself, right? And we begin from the bottom up. So your hips are the I have. And when you want to bring in or and be with the frequency of I have, right? I have what I create. Then you want to release by starting on your right side, because the right side of the body is where all your responsibilities are towards yourself, towards your obligations, right? And it weighs down your ability to be soft. And your left side is your ability to be soft, or all the parts, all the times you neglected being soft, right? So we've got equal weight on both sides, it would seem. So you move your hips starting from the right, going to the left, and in a circular motion. So, and as you move up the body and, into different practices, there are different movements. And so when we move into the I can center, which is just at our navel, you want to begin by inhaling deeply through the nose, pause at the top, and then vocalize your exhalation. Just however it comes out, right? Get to hear the voice of your existence, and really pull in that air from your knees. And when you're releasing, release from your shoulders. So this is an opportunity to let those shoulders drop, right? Yeah. How are you feeling so far, Che? We only did two.
I'm feeling relaxed right now.
Hmm.
Sense of
Yeah, and
peace.
it's so easy, so simple. I think it's taken us about 90 seconds, and just imagine if you had this practice all throughout your day, every time you had an incident with, at work. One thing we don't talk about is emotional abuse at work, right? How many people work in an unkind work environment? So if you had this to use throughout your day, and even if an hour went by and it wasn't a horrible thing, but you had the practice, right? And so um, that's why I call it the five practices. And so this is the breath that you want to do really with each one of these movements, right? The being with your breath is so very important, and it helps you to vocalize better. It helps you to connect with your body. And eventually, what you will find is that your body will talk to you and literally give you messages. It's so beautiful. Um, we're not going to get that deep into how that emerges in these few moments we have together. But if you want to know about that, I'm sure Che has some questions around that later. Um, anyway, right? So then you want to move your shoulders. As I talk about vocalizing, you want to move. When I say move, just kind of pull it away from the front. Move your right shoulder away from the front, and just let it drop, right? And then inhale. And as you exhale, you want to pull that left shoulder away from the front and just let it drop. And don't forget to vocalize the breath. The breath is going to sound different when you're moving, of course. So again, we're going to move the shoulder back forward. So inhale, and then exhale, bringing it forward, and inhale, exhale, bringing it back forward. So like the moving away from the front is getting rid of other people's energy, and moving back towards the front is reclaiming your wholeness and being in your energy. So this is just a very intentional practice, and you may be doing this naturally, right? It's like our body, the wisdom of our body is always there. So you may be thinking, well, I kind of do that every time I have, a little spat with my spouse or whatever, right? Like I kind of he's gone now, it's over. Um, but just imagine the difference, right? The distinction in doing it intentionally, so that you are using that moment and those movements and breaths as a medicine, right? So you're not walking around for years and years with this frustration in your joints. and weighing on your back and, you know, causing you to have knee surgery and hip surgery, you see. So you're literally um, nurturing and healing yourself in the moment. And that's what I love about this. And so then, of course, we have the moving to the right with, just very slowly and gently moving to the right, and then very slowly, gently moving to the left. Now, oftentimes our jaw is very tight, right? And so doing this movement, you may hear a little snap, crackle, pop is what I call it, because of just the way we hold our necks, whether it's because we're on devices or because we're always looking at a computer screen or just sitting in general. So this loosens up the back of the neck. It loosens up the throat, and also uh, if you do these movements in conjunction, right? We've got our hips that I showed you how to move, your shoulders, and now your neck. If you use these all together, let's say in a form of dance movement, and always vocalizing the breath, then you can literally end your day and have more energy than you started your day with and be in joy drive, you know? But the fifth practice is making it a practice. Like, so at the 55 of every hour, put you on your calendar, you know? Reconnect with me. And that's like literally how I rebuilt and reestablished um, my nervous system in 4 years, and that muscle memory, and even, like, slowly but surely, like, there are environments that I just don't allow myself to be in. So if, like, someone's talking and it's starting to feel, like, offensive, or my body's just like, we're not wanting to be in their vibration, I just remove myself. And I don't say, "Thank you for your time," sometimes, because sometimes I'm not grateful for their time, you know? And, with ease and grace and dignity and grace, I get to move around now, and not like dodging bullets. And so
Wow.
that's joy train.
Wow, that's a whole joy drive going on there. Relaxing, and it feels good for those folks that are watching. What an exercise, and what is something that you can do as well. You can go back and you can hit rewind on this. You can play this a second or third time, and you might be wondering, "Wow, Shay, how is she able to do this?" And at the same time, get involved in other activities, get involved with things going on with her children, get involved in self care. Well, she just demonstrated it. For those folks that are watching and saying, "Wow, Shay, what's that thing on her head? What is this thing that says America?" Take a moment, if you would, and talk about what is Miss Corporate America, and what's one of the reasons you decided to participate in the Miss Corporate America pageant, West Virginia.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Well, mostly because I wanted to wear a crown. No, seriously. I've always wanted to. Um,
Looks
this
good on you.
is
Looks good on you.
Thank you, right? It's so natural. So this is an organization found by Anissa McQueen 17 years ago for, to recognize women in corporate America, or who have had businesses for 5 years, um, to just acknowledge them for what they're doing in their community, what they're doing in their life. And you get to use the platform to collaborate with amazing women. It's like a sisterhood and community that's formed on a whole different level, right? It's great to be supported as an entrepreneur, like Che does with his Happy Entrepreneur Show and his community, but like to be with other mothers, right? Or sandwich mothers, right? Taking care of their mother and taking care of their kids. Um, or just like other women who get it, they get what it's like to have to make choices between being with your kids and working, especially when things are going well. But then when things are not going well at work, and you are the only woman and the only Black woman and the only smart person sometimes. um, it's like a lot. And you have to come home and mother, and you get to hear the stories of your kids too, right? So I'm using this platform for to first and foremost bring awareness to emotional abuse at work, right, in corporate America, and sometimes in the home, and how to just use the these experiences as springboards, as fuel, right? So I have this, even in a couple of hours, I'll be doing what I call the beauty of racism. And so um, this is some of the things I got to enjoy in corporate America as the CFO for an IT company in DC, right? Where I was the Black woman in the whole organization. And so I chose to love my time there because I was away from my kids and I wasn't going to be miserable at work. And so I would say back in 2002 or what, 2003, that was the beginnings of what I'm doing today in this workshop, The Beauty of Racism. Like, because of it, I have a very robust self nurturing practice. And I'm going to really be bold, and I invite other women to do the same, right? I'm 52 going on 53 and I look like I'm 30, you know? And I've survived a lot. And so I'm the brand branding for you don't have to let life swallow you whole as a Black woman. Black don't crack, but you can also be part of making sure that it doesn't, you know? So,
And you look amazing, by the way. You look super incredible, by the way. So thanks for
thank
sharing
you.
that. And what was it like when you walked on the stage? Because I got a chance to be at a couple of them. What was it like when you first signed the application? Said, "I'm going to go compete in this." Were you nervous? Were you scared? I mean, were you like or you just was like, "I'm just going to go with the flow. What happens, happens." You are looking at Miss Corporate America West Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. That's her. She's so humble over there, but yeah, that's her. That's her right there.
So, at first I was a little bit, even as much as I wanted to wear the crown, I was so nervous. But I'm like, you know what? I had a dentist appointment and I wore my crown and sash. and
I don't blame you. I
and they
would
were like,
too. Let
right?
everybody
They
know.
were
Let
like,
everybody see it.
yeah, they were like, wait, what's going on? And at the same time, can I take a picture with you, right? So let me capture this. So they took a picture with me and they posted it on their social media. And actually, they're like one of my first sponsors. It's kind of cool, right? So I overcame my fear pretty quickly.
I'm curious. One of the questions I get to ask when we have a few minutes, we have a few minutes now, quickly. What's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? Now, I know you've had a lot of mentors. You've read countless books. You probably, like me, you've been on social media, got 10,000 hours with just your thumb on the weekend. But if you had to step back and kind of say, hey, Shay, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given. What is it and why is it so important to you?
Mm. I would say when someone speaks to you and they have advice, consider the source. And so that quote is from my mother. um, she said that to me when I was about 11 years old, and I had no idea what she meant. And I was like, because I was crying to her, some girls had said something to me, and they were giving me some advice. And she was like, well, does it make sense to you? And I said, no. Why doesn't it make sense to you? And I was like, well, she doesn't know about, whatever what it was. And so she said, so you're crying because someone gave you advice that didn't make sense to you, that is different from what you came up with in your own wisdom. And now that you've considered the source, what do you think? And I said, I think that I have no reason to cry. And even though, like, at 11 years old, that was my understanding, like, that has come back to me a lot, you know, through mothering, right? I have 6 children. People got a lot of advice from mothers, um, right? And
Yeah.
just like working and having my business and writing my books and all the things that I do, right? And so most of the time, I don't listen to people because I have to consider
Great
the source.
advice.
Yeah.
I like that, by the way. As we come down the home stretch, really a two-part question. Number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days, if your firm's taking on any clients? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now?
Yeah. Well, I am looking for people who are done with doing what's expected and accepted. Um, they're done with not knowing how to be their boundary that they're trying to create. And they just want to liberate themselves um, from being miserable all the time. They know that they're not here to be miserable, and they know that it's not okay the way, what they're accepting from people and the way they're being treated. And I'm opening this up to men as well as women, because I have found in recent years, like literally the last 9 months, mostly men reaching out to me. And so, humans have soft hearts, and it's time for us to be able to accept our soft hearts, and like just be human. And that's what I want for everybody. So I guess I'm mostly opening the door to men right now. And at the same time, I still am doing my retreats for women, right? Because women, I believe, require a very sacred space and an opportunity to connect with nature. Um, Not that men don't, but I'm not at capacity to offer private retreats for men. Anyway, so the best way to contact me is on social media. I'm Cordelia Gaffar everywhere. Um, I, if you go to either my Instagram or my LinkedIn, you'll see that you'll have a link to Achieving Joy Drive. And maybe, I'll give it to Che to share here, but this will take you through like a mini course, a lot more in depth than what I just did in those 3 or 4 minutes here on the show, right? And so for 5 days, you'll be getting like little videos from me on how to create Joy Drive for yourself.
Well, let me say two things. Number one, it was a pleasure seeing you on stage, seeing you take all those folks who were there and getting their bodies moving and active, bringing Joy Drive to life, by the way. Let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate it, and all the work you're doing in the community as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Che. It's been amazing.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. You have choices, by the way. You choose to spend this time with us, and we really appreciate it, because without you, well, we don't have a show. By the way, we don't have a show. So thanks for tuning in. And I never get tired of reminding you, every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're doing really, really well and there's another level you're getting up to, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming, the one thing I do believe is that today, in this moment, is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name hasn't changed. Still Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. God bless and keep doing God's work. We out of here. Peace. Thanks so much for today. We'll see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.